Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how you can create an animated and interactive slider on Figma, and this can be quite useful for your projects. Before we dive into it, let me quickly show you how we're going to be using these assets. So this is a podcast platform, and this particular frame is a tipping system where, as a listener, you can tip podcast hosts in Naira in particular. So let's just dive into it. The first thing you need to do, the very first thing you need to do is create a frame, and I'm going to be calling this a model frame. I'm calling it a model frame because this is where all the activities is going to go on. Uh, this is where we're going to have all the sliders, where all the old sliding activities is basically going to happen. So let me give it a 21 height and 416 width. So this is basically going to fit into the frame that we want to use it for. This particular input field are also going to be useful for us because this is where all the numbers, the figures in Naira are going to be changing, so to say. So we have a model frame here. So very first thing you need to do is try and give this model frame a solid color. Color you can visibly see. These are temporary color here. We're still going to change them afterwards. So let's just go ahead. So we're going to create another frame, and this is going to be 416 as well. This frame we're going to give it 416 as well. That's the same size with this, but this time around we're going to need to reduce this so slim because this is going to be our slider. This is going to be our slider. So we're going to call this a slide bar. This is going to be our slide bar. BAR. Yeah, but we need to give this a radius of 22. We're going to give it a radius of 22. So we're going to copy Ctrl C and Ctrl V. So now we have that slider inside the model frame. This is not useful for us anymore. So I'm going to centralize this. So we have this slider. The slide bar is inside the model frame. So what we want to do now is the slide bar, we're going to duplicate the slide bar and try and bring it down. And now what we want to do is copy this slide bar, Ctrl C, then move on your slide bar, the first slide bar, and do Ctrl V. So you're copying the very first one inside it. So we're going to call this slider now. So we're going to call this slider. So this second slide bar is not useful for us anymore. So the slider, you're going to give it a solid color as well, so you can still basically interact with it. You can easily. So here's what I'm trying to do here. So we have this slider, that's the main slide bar, and we have the slider. The slider can interact right inside the slide bar. It's inside it, it can go inside it because it's a frame, and that's exactly what we need in this situation. So I'm going to centralize it, and as well I'm going to centralize the slide bar inside the model frame. So the next thing we need to do now is create a circle. That's going to be our slider circle, and width and height should be 15. And I'll change the color. Let's select a nice color, so let's do this purple. And so now I'm going to copy this and paste it inside the model frame, sitting pretty inside the model frame. Let me, it's at the middle. So what I want to do is my slider, I'm going to move it a bit inside, and the circle, I'm going to trace it all the way down to connect with my slider. Quite. So what I want to do now is my slider and the circle, we're going to group them together, and now we're going to call it slider. Still going to call it slider. So we have the slide bar, we have the slider. So here's what's going to happen. I can basically move my slider inside the slide bar. So we're going to delete this. So the next thing we need to do now is create our indicator. I feel this indicator are going to be useful. So we're going to create our indicator. We're going to do this. Yes, this is perfect. So we're going to create our indicator, and we want to ensure the indicator is positioned. So we're going to position the first one here as an example, and I can easily drag this a slider here. So what I want to do is bring our slider to the front, so this way once the slider is on a particular figure, you can't see the indicator anymore. So so we have a vector 1, which is the indicator, and I'm going to duplicate it so I can then bring it here. So I'm going to be using this in a very quick way so we can. So I'll duplicate, and I'll duplicate, and I'll duplicate for the last time, basically. Yeah. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 indicators here, signifying all the 6 figures that we need as for the tipping system. For example, yeah. So in this case, what I want to do now is my indicators, that's my vectors, all my vectors. Let me select all the vectors. We have 6 vectors, and I'll give them a color of 5A, 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 and this makes sense. So for this slide bar rather, I'll give it 5A, 5A, 5A as well, but this time around I'm going to reduce the opacity to say 60. I'll reduce the opacity to say 60, and so here's what's going to happen. So let me change the color of the mother bar back uh to white, and we have this. So I feel like I still want to reduce it to, let's say, 45. And so yeah, I think this basically work. I mean, I feel like I still want to go further. So this time around, don't let us make use of the opacity. We can make use of a solid color. So yeah, this works. So the next thing we want to do is quickly create our figures here. So I have my input field here. I'm going to drag this edit button inside it. So first thing I want to do is create a frame. I want to create a frame. So this 1000 figure, I'm going to come here and say 1000, duplicate the 1000. Next one should be say 3000, and I'm going to do another one and say 5000, another duplicate, and say 7000, and another one, call this 10,000. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's just quickly do the last one, and we call this say 15,000. So 15,000 is going to be like the highest number that we can tip as a preview for a podcast host. So we have this. We want to try and ensure it's a bit closer. So we have 13. We have 13. Maybe let's do 15, space between them. So we have 15, 15. So let's quickly do the rest. We do 15. We do 15 on the next one. We do 15 again. We do 15 again. And lastly, we do another 15. So I mean, the reason you basically it's not compulsory you do this, but I mean it makes the animation, or it makes the slider more interactive when you're trying to select from one indicator to another. So we're going to group all this figure now, and so what we want to do is bring this frame here and try and drag it to make sure that we're getting what we want. So what we want to do is copy this and bring it straight inside the frame, and we don't need this anymore. So let's still expand the frame a bit just to give it some space on this side. So I think this is too much, so let's do this, and let's quickly do this as well. So here is what you want to do. Well, after you've done that, you want to select the frame, and now you're going to drag the frame all the way down. You're going to drag the frame all the way down to fit into your 1000 first. Remember, you already have this figures group. So let's just call this Naira. Let's call this Naira. Yeah. So we have a Naira. So here's what we want to do is bring the Naira frame, bring it to, let's position it here. So we're going to group these together, and now we have our Naira. Then we're going to bring it inside the input field, basically. Yeah. So at this stage, this particular frame, this Naira frame, you want to hide it. You want to hide your frame, so now we can't see the frame anymore. So we're going to group everything together inside the input field. So basically we have our input field. We're done with that for now. So we have our model frame for the slider. Yeah, so we have it here. So here is the tricky part. Here is what you want to do. This slider, the frame slider, not the circle now, the frame slider, you want to come here and also hide the frame. So basically you're having only the circle. Basically you're having a circle. I mean, let's tweak the circle a little bit, give it an effect, give it a shadow effect. Let's do, I mean, let's do 15, and let's do 15 and 10. No, let's do 15 and 5. I mean, this is just to give it a bit of good look. So here is what you want to do. We're going to drag this, position it right under our, want to position it right under our figure, Naira figure. Yeah. So at this stage, uh at this stage so here's what you want to do here. You want to ensure the model frame itself. Now yes, we're trying to get our sliders right. The model frame itself, you're going to also hide the model frame itself. Yeah. I do not like, I mean, let's just take the shadows off. So you want to hide the model frame itself. So now you have your slider proper. So let's push this a bit down, and let's do this. So now we have our slider here. So here's what you need to do. You have to ensure you group everything, both the but the figure, the Naira figure, and the slider. You have to group everything together. So once you group everything together, so we have our 6 figures. So you duplicate what you've grouped, you bring it down, duplicate it. So you do 1, duplicate, 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 and duplicate. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this time you can highlight all, then create component sets. Yeah. So once you create component sets, so here is the we start to prototype. So here is what you want to do. You select the slider, not the eclipse. You select the slider as a whole. You select the slider as a whole, because this is where it gets really tricky. You select the slider as a whole. So once you select the slider as a whole, you come to your prototype, and once you select it, you connect it with the variant one. So we're not doing click, we're doing on drag. You select on drag. Now smart animate, yes, easing works, and 100 milliseconds is fine. So you select on drag. So once you select on drag, you come to your first variant, and you select your slider, not the eclipse, slider. So what you want to do is push it and ensure it's right on the next indicator. Yeah, and that's not just what you need to do. You come to your figure as well, where you have your frame, you select the group, and now this time around you push the next figure. You ensure you're pushing the next figure. You're pushing the next figure. So you're done with the variant one. So what you want to do again is come to the variant 1, select the slider, not the eclipse. The eclipse is still going to be useful. For now, select the slider and also do the same thing. Connect it to the second variant. We are leaving our prototype settings same, but it's going to be on drag, not on click. On drag, smart animate, easy, 100 works. So once you do that, you want to come here, the slider, and of course push it to the next indicator, same way you did for this for the first one. Push it to the next indicator, come here, select this frame, the group, select the group. So the our next figure after 3000 is 5000. We have our 5000 and we're done with this. So you want to come here and also select the next one, connect, basically do the same thing, but it's on drag, the slider, push it to the next one, and same thing with the figure, select the group. After 5000 we have 7000. After 5000 we have 7000. You come here, you do the same thing, but ensure you're on the slider, not on the eclipse. You're on the slider, and you're bringing it here as well on drag. Prototype setting is still the same thing. You come here, you come to the slider, and this might look like a lot, but once you're able to get it for the first time, that's basically it. You come to your number as well, you select the group, and you keep pushing. We have 7000, the next is 10,000 error. So it gets tricky here. So when you get to your 1000 error, and you have to select the frame and try and expand your frame at this extent so you can get the remaining figure, you can get the remaining 0. Basically come to the group and still push a bit. So yeah, this works. So same thing, you come here, select your slider and push it to the next one, you connect, and you're still doing on drag. Smart animates, 100 still works. You select your slider and you're pushing it to the last one, which I think is 15,000 error. So you connect with this, and you come to your figure and select your figure, and still push from 10,000, you push to 15,000. So you do the same thing for the frame. Ensure you expand it so you're getting your remaining figures. So yeah, this is it. So but this is not the end of it. This is going to work quite alright once we do the sliding. So we have everything on drag, and we are here. So let's just quickly do a quick check. So we're going to copy our default components, and we're going to come here and we're going to duplicate it, centralize, and let's bring it down a bit. We've centralized it. Okay, so now let's go to our presentation prototype. So we have this here. So now you can basically slide, and you can slide to the last end, but you can't slide back. Because we still need to do the same thing. We need to come to our components, and then so this time around, the fact that we've used the slider in this case for the first prototype, we can't do the same thing. So this time around we're going to be using the circle, the eclipse. We'll connect the eclipse here, and we're going to do on drag. Yeah, we're going to do on drag. We're leaving the settings the same way. Our smart animate, easy, and 100. So you don't need to do anything with the figures anymore. So you're coming here, you're using the eclipse. On drag, not on click. I'm sure you're on drag. So you're coming here, you're doing the same thing. Select on drag. You're coming here, you're doing the same thing. That's the eclipse. You just have to ensure it's the eclipse, not the slider. Now you're coming here, you're doing the eclipse. You have your slider, but you're doing the eclipse to return back to That's the eclipse to return back to here. We're doing on drag. So you're coming here, you're doing the same thing, the eclipse and drag. Not on click, on drag, and that's it. So let's go back to our presentation. You can see this time around I can bring it back to the initial state. So basically it's a tipping system where we have like preset amounts that I can quickly tip a host of a podcast, and I can also use the edit button to just input the figure I want, 10,000, 20,000. But this is like a preset this thing. So we have 3,000, we have 5,000, we have 7,000, we have 10,000, 15,000. So you can basically uh you know this can be very useful for your project. So yeah, that's it guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.